What's up, Star Wars fans? Today I want to talk about Dave Filoni and some of the hints he's dropping for The Mandalorian Season 3 as well as the Ahsoka series. Recently, The Art of the Mandalorian Season 2 was released, and it's in this new book that Dave Filoni has been dropping those hints. But that said, before we cover this, just let me say, if you love Star Wars and speculation, then hit that subscribe button and come back again soon for more. So the new Star Wars book, The Art of the Mandalorian Season 2, has a great deal of comments from Dave Filoni and the good people over at thedirect.com, while they've been covering the most interesting things that Filoni had to say in this new book. The first of which is an interesting comment about the relationship between Ahsoka Tano, Din Djarin, and Grogu. Filoni stated, "There were lots of debates about Ahsoka pointing the way to Luke Skywalker, and John and I went back and forth. Because if Ahsoka can't take Grogu, then who will?" Filoni goes on to say, "Taking care of the child is not her destiny. That's not what I've been planning for her to do. So I can't change it up." And at first glance, you might think that Filoni's words really don't hit that much. I mean, Ahsoka Tano said in Season 2 of The Mandalorian that she wasn't going to train little Grogu. But Filoni has stated that he did have a plan already for Ahsoka Tano, and if you're watching this channel, it's probably no shock to you that that most likely has to do with the Rebels epilogue and Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren tracking down Ezra Bridger. So as far as I remember, this is the closest Dave Filoni has come to actually confirming that the Ahsoka series will be the search for Ezra. I mean, certainly Filoni has hinted about that in the past, but in this statement, he pretty much confirms it. But hey, that's not all Filoni had to say when it came to dropping hints about the Ahsoka series. He also had some interesting insight into the character Morgan Elsbeth, the lady that Ahsoka Tano duels in The Mandalorian Season 2. He states, "The Magistrate is a former Imperial, but she's an industrialist. My idea was that she had an idea about metallurgy and obviously knew what Beskar was, and she was pillaging this planet and stealing all of its resources. People who were willing to take everything from a world and give it to the Empire were valuable to the Empire. And even after the fall of the Empire, the people who built the war machine were still out there and very dangerous. They need to be tracked down because otherwise they're going to keep doing what they were doing and find new ways to exploit people." So it has already been revealed by Ahsoka Tano in The Mandalorian Season 2 that Morgan Elsbeth did help create the Imperial Starfleet. But what Dave Filoni is really hinting at in this statement is that Morgan Elsbeth is indeed not only working for Thrawn, but she is stripping the resources from this planet Corvus and is doing that most likely to create a new Imperial Fleet for Thrawn. I mean, yes, it does look like that planet and town are very small, but if you look at the background, it certainly looks like that city has a lot of industry off in the distance, and just because Morgan Elsbeth is stripping that planet of resources doesn't mean that the Imperial Fleet is actually being built on Corvus. She could be simply feeding Thrawn the natural resources that he needs for the Imperial Fleet, and Thrawn could be creating that fleet in some hidden section of the Outer Rim. And what I love most about this hint from Dave Filoni is that once again it hints that the Imperial remnant in the Outer Rim, even though we've only seen a small portion of it so far, might actually be much grander in scale than we're being led to believe so far. But Dave Filoni also said something in The Art of the Mandalorian Season 2 that I think has pretty big implications not only for the Ahsoka series, but The Mandalorian Season 3 as well. And remember earlier I had mentioned that Dave Filoni thought that Ahsoka had a different destiny than taking care of Grogu, but he also had this to say about Ahsoka, Grogu, and Din Djarin's relationship. "But it is interesting if Ahsoka's there along the way, not as somebody who takes this burden away from Mando, but as somebody to say, you might be forgetting that this kid has a choice too. It's not just about you and your oath to your clan." And certainly this is something that we've seen in The Mandalorian Season 2, as well as now in the Book of Boba Fett. But I think it's safe to say that Ahsoka Tano is going to continue this role in perhaps The Mandalorian Season 3 or in the Ahsoka series itself. I mean, she is one of the few people that can actually communicate with little Grogu and let Din Djarin know how he's feeling. And as we saw in The Mandalorian Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett, she's almost like this maternal figure that's helping Din Djarin navigate this new parenthood. So in this way, I think it makes a lot of sense that Ahsoka Tano is going to continue to interact interact with little Grogu and Din Djarin in Mando Season 3 and the Ahsoka series. And Dave Filoni actually had something else to say in The Art of the Mandalorian Season 2 that I think supports this theory. He stated, "I had a talk with George at one point about the child, and his main concern was that the kid has to have the proper amount of training. And certainly we got a lot of that training in the Book of Boba Fett, but I think in the Mandalorian Season 3 or the Ahsoka Tano series, there's a good chance that Ahsoka Tano might just do some informal training with little Grogu. But hey, Star Wars fans, remember this is all my crazy speculation, so don't take it too seriously, and remember, as always, the Force is with you."